2024, and I'm starting to see a trend. I'm starting to see a trend. And when they say he who laughs last laughs best, now I understand what that truly and really means, because a lot of times they put information out and they feed on your emotions, and then you allow your emotions to get involved and you say some things, and then down the road it turns out to not be true. The revolution is not being televised, but the revolution will be televised on the Better American TV. So thanks for tuning in, and hit that like, hit that notification, hit that subscription, because we're going up. Now, the Democratic Party, I'm saying of a mass exodus. And when I say a trend, mass exodus, the polls are showing Harris is losing to Donald Trump on all the major polls. She's even losing to Donald Trump in the swing, not in the swing states, but what we would say the blue wall states. And the popular vote is really, it's not looking good. This might be a situation where the Trump administration, or for the first time in our lifetimes, that we would see, a presidential candidate win the electoral college as well as the popular vote. So we're going to be honest with ourselves and just pay attention to what's going on, because there is a mass exodus, and the Democrats are literally starting to show that this is a, from a political perspective, a Democratic issue, because I live in LA, and I've heard a lot about industry parties, and these are not Republican or conservative parties or anything like that. These are what you would call Democratic parties. Okay. So the Democratic Party as a whole is pretty much trying to figure some things out, because they're losing a lot of traction. They're losing, momentum. And then with the no major endorsements to the Harris campaign, it's really, starting to be troublesome. And when Taylor Swift basically came out to endorse Harris, she lost basically $105 million in brand deals. And if you didn't know, Travis Kelce is having the worst season in his career. The last game that they played on this past week, she didn't attend the game because of the heckling. She lost between 30 to 40 million followers on Instagram. And like I said, Travis Kelce only has 8 catches the entire season with only 40 yards. So the Democratic freak. Now, we know that Sean P. Diddy Combs has just been indicted. He's on suicide watch, and he's been held without bail. And we know that without shadow of a doubt, those are facts. And we know that he was a major supporter of the Democratic Party. We know that. With Barack Obama in 2016, he created the brand Vote or Die. And he was all out, politicking and getting the rap industry, social media, MTV at the time, BET, all of that behind Barack Hussein Obama. And then he turned around and did the same thing for Hillary Clinton, the Vote or Die. You could Google it. You could look it up. There's images of Puff, hanging out with Hillary, kissing Hillary on the cheek, holding her hand up, doing all of the things to show that he was down with Hillary Clinton, and his Vote or Die campaign was supporting that. And then he doubled down and did it again with Joseph Biden in 2020. But for some strange reason, this time around, he didn't endorse the Harris. And somehow, some way, all of these accusations have come into fruition, because it seems like, a lot of times we see in life where, we would hear things like, okay, now the more they have, the more that they will support you. And if they don't have anything on you, and if you are too clean, you will be, somebody that will pretty much, flip on them, tell the truth, expose their lives. So they need you to be dirty. So they allowed this man to be dirty. Okay. They allowed him to be a billionaire with, the major brands in terms of getting 40 to $60 million with Ciroc, just Sean John clothing, and all in the Macy's and all of this, and, Bad Boy Records and all of that. But somehow, some way, he was the one that they allowed to, do the partying, put the RICO case on him. Because like I said, when you talk about industry party, an industry party that would be promoted or put out by Sean P. Diddy Combs, you have some of the major players in the history of the game. That when I say major players in the history of the entertainment industry in Hollywood, these individuals are so high powered. They have enough power to influence the politics. They have enough power to influence, the FBI, CIA, and more important, Homeland Security, who basically went into Sean P. Diddy's home, raided his home. And when you look at the evidence, or is when, his kids start sharing the pictures, it looked like they were robbed, and, and the information was stolen, because it seems like Puffy was going to use that information and those tape, of these powerful individuals, and compromise the situations and pretty much put them on ads. But it backfired. So with the power of the FBI, two of his homes got in, two of his homes by the FBI, by the Department of Homeland Security, which is literally the government, at the same time. And they pretty much stole all the evidence. They allowed this man to have a summer and hang out. And then here comes the indictment. So you got to understand, when you talk about liberals and conservatives. Okay. Now, mass exodus of the party is because the nonpartisan independents, the third party options, those are trending right now, because we all without shadow of doubt that P. Diddy is associated with Hollywood. P. Diddy hung out with Barack Obama. P. Diddy is friends with, the major labels, the Jimmy Iovine's and, all of the Atlantic Records, all of the major labels he associated with, because he became a mogul, and he is a part of what we would say that upper echelon of the entertainment industry. So he literally being the fall guy, because the Democratic Party is associated with all of these individuals. The Democratic Party's major donors is Hollywood. The Democratic Party major donors is the entertainment industry. The Democratic Party interest is the music and media and mass media in that Hollywood. CNN, is on Sunset Boulevard in Hollywood. You got, Fox News, you got our local networks. These are all situations. And when you think about it, this is the ending, the exodus of the particular party as a whole, because people of moral consciousness are really starting to realize the trend and are really starting to see what's really going on and what's happening. Okay, when I say the mass exodus, I'm not saying that these individuals that are Democrats are going to move over and vote for Donald Trump, in which a vast majority is, but there's individuals that's entertaining a third party option with Dr. Cornel West, Melina Abdullah, the Jill Stein and the Green Party, and even the Jesus Christ Write-In Coalition is starting to, because we have to show the powers, principality, evildoers in high places that we are no longer going to support a two-party system that they have put into play. And we really have to make some type of, a signal, or we got to do something to show them we no longer support what they're offering us. Because this duopoly, this two-party system, you got to choose between this one and that one. And then when you say you got to choose between them, you have an individual that got cases, that got felonies, trying to blow his head off. And all he's trying to do is bring the country together. And then you have another side that wants an open border, that was with Black Lives Matters, defund the police and all of these things. And you got one side that has a moral compass when it comes to abortion, no term limits. When it comes to abortion, you got an individual who would basically say, when you ask her about the economy, sits back and says, I was raised in a middle class family. Let's answer the question. So we really, as American citizens, have to understand that this is our moment in time to show system. It's all, connected. We have to show the system that we really understand what's going on, and we're not going to continue to allow you to think that you're resonating in our minds, allow you to think that you are, communicating to us, or allow you to think that we're listening. Because when I say the revolution will not be televised, Gil Scott-Heron wrote a song, because they're not telling us the real. If you turn to your local news, Kamala Harris is leading Trump in the swing states. She's, she does not even have a path to victory. And when you start having, black folk, church folk, not have anything good to say about an individual, that's when you're in trouble. we've been having sidebar conversations about politics, and believe it or not, Harris or Trump's name doesn't even come up. We're talking about their friends in high places, the P. Diddy Combs, the freak offs, and the baby oil and all of that, because this is a Democratic connection. Now, when you say party is an industry party a freak off, the industry is it conservative? No, the industry is liberal. The industry is democratic. The industry is Hollywood. The industry is all of these things that we see that they don't want us to see. Harvey Weinstein, that's Hollywood. You see, he was another fall guy. Bill, Hollywood, he was another fall guy. Now, Puffy, he lived Sean P. Diddy Combs. He was about to blow the whistle and be a whistleblower because he started to become, more sane, because his name to love. He was trying to do things different. But when you live a life and you go to a whole nother side, you're going to have to pay the piper. And when I say you're going to have to pay the piper, because if you go 20 miles east and you're going the wrong direction, it means you got to go 20 miles west to even start off in the right direction. And this is why we got to understand that it's all connected. So if they're going to arrest Puffy on some things that he's been doing since 2009, okay, so now I can truly understand why Kamala Harris will go on TV and says, we're moving forward. Because move forward in the wrong direction, because if you move back in the right direction, then it would expose what this party is all about. Clearly, it's a party of freak offs. Clearly, it's a party of immorality. Clearly, it's a party of all of these things. But if you continue to go back, you will soon realize the Democratic Party and all these issues and problems that it's having right now. Go ahead and add the party of slavery. Go ahead and add the party of Jim Crow. Go ahead and add the party of whites only and segregation. Go ahead and add, in recent history, the party of the 94 crime bill that was signed into law by Bill Clinton. The 94 crime bill was written in the Senate by Joseph Biden. So this is why they want to move forward. And the only thing that they have for you to vote for is abortion. Because when asked at the National Black Journalists Association in Atlanta, is when Kamala Harris really started to crash out, because you had black individuals on the stage asking her questions and challenging her. And they asked her, as president, will you be willing to put guardrails or some type of term limits on them? And then she danced around it after saying she was raised in a middle class family, which had nothing to do with it. And then she said, look, we got to protect Roe v. Wade. That's not the question. Will you? And she said, look, she doubled down on it and gave him that look, Roe v. Wade, meaning there's no term limits, 6 months, 7, 8 months, 9 months. We don't even know what's going on. So we got to be totally honest with ourselves and just keep it, hoodwink, bamboozled, led astray, and running amok. We can't continue to be deceived. We got to let them know that we are smarter than they are. Okay, this is why they resonate to the lowest of the lowest vibration, and they put things out, quickly. So the individuals who feeds off of emotion instead of thoughts and reflection, because thoughts and reflection leads to the truth. So when you put these individuals out there and they pretty much going on ocean and clowning, but then when it's time to come around and pay the piper and tell the truth, oh, they already did their damage and we're just moving on. But as a people, we cannot be moving on. I agree with you. The enterprise, and the enterprise is two sides. It's a duopoly. One got a suit on and one is butt naked with baby oil and lube. So we got to keep it 100. So what I'm saying is, as a man, okay, I don't want to be associated with a party that's associated with this type of nonsense. Okay, this man had a home in Homely Hills, 60 million. This man has been elevated and pushed to the top by record labels and moguls and clothing lines and brands and all of these things, and being used to sell products and to pretty much sell our culture. But it is not our culture. The only thing that Puffy shares with me is skin tone. Okay, because at the end of the day, when you sell your soul to the devil, it's not even about race. It's between gods. Because when you sell your soul to the devil, you're selling yourself, you're selling your soul So you're pretty much in opposition of God. So you literally what they call a devil's advocate. You know, you advocate for immoral. You advocate for anything that's against God. You would advocate from a political perspective, take God out of schools. You would advocate towards a spiritual perspective that it doesn't matter if you're born male or female. You could do this. You could take it from a whole different perspective and then be investing in lube in baby oil, because lubes and babies is for the wrong hole. It's for the wrong hole. When a man and a woman get together and there's some type of foreplay and some type of connection, you don't need none of that. Okay. If she's feeling you, you don't need none of that. Even if she's not feeling you, you can do, you can do some things, go downtown, get a little, and do what you do. But when you got, a lifetime supply of baby oil, what is that for? And that's sick. And it's connected to, I can't even say democracy. I got to say the Democratic Party. Because these industry parties in Hollywood, these industry parties in New York, these are industry parties that's associated with the Democratic Party. If you look online, or if you want to do your due diligence, look these things up. Look these things up. I saw a video yesterday. Barack Obama had a suit on and he was sweating, and Puffy had a t-shirt on and he wasn't sweating, but Barack Obama was sitting back saying, I like to think, what he's doing, and, and how he's bringing everybody together and all of this. So I'm sitting back saying, man, I'm like, whoa. So we missed that in plain sight. And then, all the accusations with Obama, oh, that's crazy. But this is what I'm saying is all good things come to an end. Just like, Puffy's exposed, the Democratic Party is being exposed as we speak. But since they own mass media, you have to have influencers and podcasters to come on and go against the grain and tell the truth, because the truth shall make us free. But they don't want us to talk about the truth. They want us to believe the lies, and they want you to keep tuning MSNBC and their CNN and, the polls saying this and saying that. And then on election day, it's going to hit you like a brick, because it's going to be a bloodbath. And I'm being sarcastic, meaning there's going to be a blowout, because people, more importantly, black men, have abandoned the Democratic Party. There's a large volume of black men that will be voting for Donald Trump. I'm not one of them. I'm going to be writing in my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. Okay. Because like I said, I don't have a name. I can't choose between the scribe and the Pharisees. I can't, flip the script. I was a Democrat and then now I'm a Republican. No, listen, you guys going to have to fair fight, because historically my people fought on the side of the Union and defeated the Democratic Party to end slavery. But for somehow, some way, the Democratic Party was able to manipulate us into being a part of them with the criminalization clause in the Constitution, made us sharers. And we didn't even have a conversation until 1964, when Lyndon B. Johnson said, a Democrat said, I will have them Negroes voting Democratic for the next 400 years. Okay. And it's been 60 years, Rights Act. So party over, because the Civil Rights Act was supposed to end segregation and created integration, was supposed to end racism, but all it did was champion women, the women's live movement, which includes white women. It championed the LGBTQ community, which includes gay men, which are white men. Okay. And what did it do? It put race on the back burner. They changed the black race to ethnicity called African American. And then all of a sudden, if you're African American, it's associated with everything, of oppressed people. No. So this is what I'm saying is, now it's time, when they say we can't go back, it's time to go back and really look at the past and really understand what's going on. It's chess, it's not checkers. So our major chess move in 2024 will be to not support the Democratic Party. Do not resuscitate the Democratic Party. The polls are showing that she's not resonating. And I tell you the truth, and the revolution will be televised. Kamala Harris is a functioning alcoholic. Think about that. Kamala Harris, and all those gaffes and, those word salads and all that kikiing, man, she's drunk as a skunk. And I'm going to go on record and say, if you don't believe it, if it's not true, ask her the question and see what she says. Ask her the question and see what she says. There are surveillance tapes that came out when Tim Walz was on that Thursday night, being introduced as the vice president. There's surveillance tapes that's pretty much being shown and resonating in the dark media underworld of her coming into her hotel room, being held by her husband in a drunken stupor and threw up on the carpet. This is why she didn't go there. So now we got to understand it's time for us to be different. It's time for us to, change our ways and change our direction and let them know that you can't fool us anymore. The Democrat is dying. It's over. She's losing the party. She's the catalyst. Taylor Swift endorsed her, lost $125 million in branding. Travis Kelce is having the worst career season that he's ever had in his career. There's no major endorsements. Dwayne Rock Johnson, nobody. And they came to Puff to try to get him to do that ride or die, that vote or die, and said to him, if you support Harris, we can make all this go away. But he had in his mind, he had all them surveillance tapes of all these major political officials, the TD Jakeses, the Obamas, and everybody else. Basically thought that he can, defend himself or beat the weight of the federal government. But they said, you know what, we're going to go up in there and we're going to take those tapes. Okay. And then we're going to prosecute you. So what he should have did, hindsight 20, if you went in that far and could have deal with the devil, you should have just stayed over there. But now you tried to do what's right. And here we are. And then to basically see and to show that it's resonating around the industry, 5 major record label, CEOs have stepped down within days of the exposure of the freak offs. Think about that. Think about that. So now we truly got to understand as people what's going on. And like I said, it's time for us to stand up for what's right. It's time for us to show democracy, American democracy, more importantly, the Democratic Party, that the jig is up, because somehow, some way, the party was a lost cause. They lost the Civil War, but due to the assassin's bullet of Abraham Lincoln, Andrew Jackson became president of the United States, which was a Southern Dixiecrat. And he, along with the Congress, put in the criminalization clause, which is a slavery clause. And somehow, the slavery built the South on free labor. Think about that. During the Reconstruction period, the South was built on free labor. The North never even came down to the South to even have a conversation. They allowed them to do what they did. So they literally extended slavery with the assassin's bullet. So this is why there has been not only 2 attempts on President Trump, because they know if they were to kill him, then the Democratic Party will come together and we have to come together. They'll go to his funeral and they'll resonate in our hearts. And by default, just like how Harry, the nominee for the Democratic Party, by default, she will become president of the United States. And then these evildoers in high places, these people that have been at the freak out offs and all of these individuals that we don't know nothing about, somehow will ruin the world. Because when I read that Constitution, it says domestic tranquility. We are supposed to have a tranquil living here in America. We got enough money to take care of anything, anybody. Okay, because Homeland Security, earmarked $385 million to distribute to cities that will bring in migrants. And think about that. And LA put their hand up and Karen Bass got 21 million. And they showed the buses coming into downtown Los Angeles to pretty much, handpick and get the migrants out of there to pretty much put them in a comfortable situation, but a slap in the face to the individuals that's been there. Think about that. And if you just do simple math, $385 million earmarked for the Department of Homeland Security to distribute to cities that want to support or help migrants. It's approximately, and I'm rounding up, only 350 million Americans. So if you do that math, that's 350 million. So the math says that they can actually put $1 million in everybody's bank account and still have, $30 million to go. Think about that. Think about that. So this country cannot survive and it will not thrive unless we come together as a people. This country will not survive and it will not thrive unless we come together as a people. And what am I talking about? I'm talking about the association to the Democratic Party, to these industry parties and these freak out. And I'm talking about a mass exodus of the Democratic Party. This is what I'm talking about. This is the topic of discussion today. The party is over. And if you look at the media, the liberal media, they will make you think that there is a pathway to victory for Kamala Harris. There is no way and there is no pathway of victory for Harris. Okay. Trump is going to win by a landslide. Until you registered Democrats, until you nonpartisan independents, you need to choose a third party option or write Christ, or go ahead and vote for Donald Trump, because at the end of the day, we need to show the party that it is not good for America. Because when they say that, Donald Trump is a threat to democracy, no, clearly P. Diddy is. You guys associate him with with his freak offs, and you use mass media to support your operation. And like I said, Taylor Swift is pretty much, Google Taylor Swift today. She's hiding. She can't even go to the football games now because Harris she lost approximately between 30 and 40 million followers on Instagram for endorsing Harris. Travis Kelce looks in the press box. He don't even see his woman anymore. So now somehow they kind of caught up in something because Patrick Mahomes' wife is in support of Donald Trump. So it's a whole lot of things going on. And we're going to go ahead and call it the Kamala Harris effect. She's destroying the party. She's a functioning alcoholic. She is not a leader. Okay. She slept her way to the top. She is not black. Okay. She's Indo-Jamaican. Her father birth certificate says Caucasian. Her birth certificate says Caucasian. The only thing that she has in common folk is pretty much not getting into an Ivy League school, having to go to a black college and hooked up with the sororities. And back then, you had to pass the paper bag test to be a AKA. So they use that. But at the end, she don't have no biological children. Think about it. Let's keep it 100. Okay, and it's coming out of a mouth of a black man who is practicing his freedoms and his liberty. Okay, because I'm finally free from the shackles of enslavement from a mental perspective. I'm free from the Democratic Party, meaning I can choose and vote for who I choose. Because when I do the study, when I do, the history, and when I listen to my elders say, oh, you got to vote. Yes, we have to vote. But they say, oh, because our ancestors died because they was voting Republican all the way up into John Kennedy. And he was the one that was actually championing the black vote or the black community at the time, because he's on record along with his brother Bobby saying, it's immoral to have segregation. And what if we go to heaven and God's black and all of that, because he literally read the Bible. OK, so they voted Republican all the way up to JFK. And when he became president, what did they do? They blew his head off on national TV, riding in a convertible in Dallas, Texas. So that was the thanks, but no thanks. And then Lyndon B. Johnson was a vice president. So correlation. Look how Abraham Lincoln and Andrew Jackson, came into effect. They killed Lincoln. The vice president put a slavery clause in the 13th Amendment because it was supposed to read neither slavery nor involuntary servitude unless criminalized. But he put in, supposed to read neither slavery nor involuntary servitude, period. But they put a comma, which is a slavery clause, unless criminalized. And they went and round up all the newly freed Negroes, put them in jails and put them on the chain gang, and blacks and created the sharecroppers, and blacks rebuilt the South on 100% free labor. And they didn't even revisit the situation until Rosa Parks decided that she didn't want to move back of the bus. So think about that. And then now look in 1962, 63 with Kennedy. That was the first time blacks voted overwhelmingly Democrat, because Kennedy is from New York or from Connecticut, who was pretty much resonating with the black community. So when the blacks supported Kennedy, it made American democracy nervous. And he was pretty much going to probably win by, to get reelected. But what happened? The assassin's bullet, the vice president at the time, Lyndon B. Johnson, did the same thing that Andrew Jackson did. He pretty much act like he was down with us, trapped us, and pretty much promoted and continued slavery, or the mental enslavement aspect of it. Because if it was something beautiful to end civil rights, then why did we not celebrate 60 years of the Civil Rights Acts this year? Because in July 2nd, 1964 is when the Civil Rights Acts was signed. Okay, why didn't we celebrate that? We had more pride parades than anything. We saw it because if you look at the civil rights, they added some clauses. It was supposed to be about race, but they added sex. They added, sexual preference in terms of the gays, and then ethnic was when they turned blacks from being black and proud, they turned them into an ethnicity. And nobody is proud to be an ethnicity, because if you talk to the average black American, we're not. How can we be African American and we, those are two continents. Okay, I've never been to Africa, have no desire to go there. I'm a blood-born American citizen who chases his history back to Jamestown, Virginia, dated back the year 1619. And on a 360-year count, this is the year the 400-year curse is lifted. So we're going to have to understand that we are connected to a higher power, because biblically, there was a 400-year biblical prophecy there, and now it is expired, whether we like it or not. God is showing us what's going on, because this is the year of exposure. Malcolm X was coming home to roost. There's nobody in their right mind, want to go ahead and support lesser of anything. Okay, the lesser of the two evils. So what do you want? Trash or garbage? You want to get killed or murdered? Okay, lesser, Lucifer or Satan, take your pick. I mean, it's a game, and this is a game that we're not going to continue to play. Okay, we can't continue to play this game. And like I said, man, we are so ripe and ready to move, because democracy was supposed to have died at the end of the Civil War. But somehow, some way, they was able to use the science of Willie Lynch to continue, because this is why they are down on the women, and they are using our women like prostitutes. Because I saw on one blogger, they said, this presidential election is a pimp versus a hoe. So nobody's going to be supportive of the hoe, because hoe has a pimp, and the pimp is these people, these evildoers and places that got this functioning alcoholic on the campaign trail. She can't communicate. This is why she got to have handlers. This is why she can't do interviews, because she's drunk all the time. Don't nobody want a executive and, executive chief, in way that's alcoholic. Just think about it. Just think about when you or myself faded. We need to sleep it off. Okay. I'm not saying that that's a good or a bad thing, but when you are the executive in chief of the world, you got to be on your P's and Q's. Just imagine if she's in one of her drunken stupors and something happened overseas and she got to make a decision off the spot. She can't even have a conversation one-on-one with Oprah. Even Oprah was sitting back. Wow, this is crazy. And Oprah is smart, because remember at the Democratic convention when she said, I'm with Kamala, she got some guarantees that she's going to be able to get probably a big bag to get back on television and to interview. And she played the game. She played the game. Let me see here. One question. Which party the Proud Boys and the Confederates voting for this year? Well, the Proud Boys and let me see here. The Confederates, I would say they're going to vote Trump. I would say that without a shadow of a doubt. But what does the Proud Boy Confederates have to do, with us? What do they have to do with us? Just because they got somebody that they can actually vote for, we don't this time. Think about it. Trump is a Messiah type figure. Trump is a Messiah type figure to the white community. And I could care less, to be honest with you, of anybody that hate me. I'm responding to a comment, and black people hate more than white people. I'm from South Central Los Angeles. I live in South Central. I'll be on the turf. So there's no white people out here, got my shoulder. Black on black crime is the worst thing that could ever happen. You talk about gangs, killing gangs. Every time you turn the news on, you got murders and all of this. And you want to talk about Proud Boys? Proud Boys? Come on, man. See what I'm saying? See, this is the ignorance of the mind when they don't understand that you're dealing with a higher vibration. We've raised our bar up. So we could care less about white trash. We could care less about trailer park trash. We could care less about poor whites. We could care less about that, because we care about our community. In our community, there are shootings. Look what happened in Birmingham. 70 people hit, 17 people died, and the killer is not no Proud Boy. Think about that. We doing us. What I'm saying is, before you make a comment, why don't you check the temperature of the room and pretty much understand where you at? This is a better Black America TV. This is a better Black America TV. Okay? And Black stands for Black, Latin, Asian, Caucasian, kinsman. And on a better Black America TV, the Black man knows who he is, and it's time for us to assume our position, because we are the moral compass of not the United States, but the universe. So now it's time for us to step our game up and have true leadership, because you see what Puffy and them doing. You see, those individuals put Will Smith and P. Diddy and, just black faces in positions of power and make individuals think that they represent us. But these are suspect, questionable men that have sold their soul and that will be willing to do anything to be successful. And as a man, an ultra heterosexual, I can't respect that. Okay. And like I said, when I was doing my thing, with women, obviously, I wouldn't promote what I do, but as a man, if I'm going to promote something, I'm going to promote a man with one wife, to be respectful, but what you do behind closed doors between you and your God. But if you're living a lie, if you're going to be gay, but if you live in a lie, making it seem like you cool and you one of the brothers and all of that, but at the end of the day, you trying to drug us and, put baby oil on us and catch us slipping. I mean, think about that. This is why the Democratic Party chooses basically put these men in positions of power, because that's the way they control and manipulate. Because look at Jada and Will Smith. Look at that family. Okay. And if you didn't know, when they had the entanglement, Will and Jada was sleeping with Alex Augustina. Okay. Will is gay. He's one of his lovers was Dwayne Martin. Okay. Because he's not on record. And then when he slapped, Chris Rock, that was supposed to be toxic masculinity. No, that was underlined because Will Smith know that Chris Rock know who he is and what he do. Okay. So when they make these Hollywood stars and then they, every 4 years they put them out there and vote for them and all of that, they get us, caught up in something that's so totally different. But this time around, it's not happening. Where's Will Smith? Where's Dwayne Rock Johnson? I'm saying from a popularity perspective, that's pretty much supporting Harris. Nobody. But they took the industry plant who signed a Universal, Taylor Swift, who lost 125 million in brand deals. And if you understand, Universal Music is connected with the private prisons corporations. And this is have rappers talk about all of this. You know what I'm saying? And at the end of the day, it is what it is. It is what it is. And when you have, iron sharpens iron. Okay. My brother came back about Tulsa. Okay. So as a man, everything that we talking about is pretty much moving on, because what happened in Tulsa was white Democrats, white Southerners, white, segregationists. Remember, segregation now, segregation forever. See, a lot of people, don't know the history. And I'm responding to a question. A lot of people don't know the history. The Democratic Party is the party of slavery. I'm going to say this again. And that's SDREDUK. Shadrach. The Democratic Party, the party of slavery. Do your homework. The Democratic Dixiecratic South, the Confederates, is the Democratic Party. So when they manipulate you, young man, you have to be young to really not understand that, because I know I'm associated with family members that's from Alabama, from the South. These are Democratic states. These are Democratic human beings. It's all based on democracy. And this is why they say it's a threat to their democracy, because they're going to lose their democracy, because as long as they could keep the black race dumb, busted, and discussed it and continue black babies on a pipeline to prison to fund their prison operations who are owned by our record labels, then they continue to win. But when I say to abandon the Democratic Party, it's pretty much stopping the system from continuing to operate on a broken axle. And when I say continue to operate on a broken axle, it's kind of like people don't understand. And they think, just like you said, you're deluded. What my man said, you're deluded post Oklahoma. Those were Democrats. Think about it. It wasn't no Republicans in the South until, the 70s and 80s. Think about that. The University of Alabama did not even recruit black players in 1971 or 72 when they lost to USC. Those were Democrats. The only reason they flipped is because of the Congressional Black Caucus and the Bill Clintons and all of this and making it about race. But when you know your history, you know the truth. And this is why the Democratic Party do not want to go back. Because if they go back, then the truths are going to be revealed, just like they going back on P. Diddy to 2009. So we're going to go back on the Democratic Party to 1865 and bring it back up slowly, because the Democratic Party is the party of slavery. And literally, it literally shifted in 1964. Okay. When the Democratic Party went totally liberal, when the Democratic Party went and adapted to the LGBTQ community. And back then it was just gay. Okay. They added a lot of alphabets. When they embraced, the women's lives organizations, and when they start embracing the minority groups, this is when whites said, you know what? And go Republican, because we are being pushed out of the party because the Democratic Party is pacifying and pushing an agenda that's anti-American, anti-liberty and justice for all, and number three, anti-capitalism. So you want to give them welfare, you want to give them Planned Parenthood, you want to kill your babies, you want to take away God. Oh, I'm an evangelical Christian from Oklahoma, so now I used to be a Democrat, so now I'm gonna go be a Republican. But when all of this stuff was going on, do your history. It's the Democratic. And this is why they don't want to go back. And this is why Joe Biden says, and he's on record, follow the science, because the science is to pretty much invest in the black woman and get the black woman to be afraid of her son's well-being, get him to be feeble-minded, yet big, strong, all and handsome, but get him to be feeble-minded, literally turn him out to be gay and feminine, and raise the children first roles. And this is why you have a lot of ultra aggressive females and a lot of sissified, weak black men. Okay. I saw a study and it said that 90% of the Democratic Party black men that supports the Democratic Party that will go on record to tell you to vote Democratic is gay. And then the other 10% is what you call henpecked beta males that's scared, hiding behind their women. Nerds, cowards, busters, marked punks. So we got to be honest with ourselves. Skull and bones, even Bush was. I mean, like I said, when you talk about the people, and I'm in these comments right now, when you talk about the people, a lot of these secret societies and all of that, yeah, they all go, has its, they all have, their power and their political pundits or individuals that they put their money and support behind. Okay. But the people, the Constitution says we the people. So they're literally playing us and got us basically fighting and arguing between two candidates that are just for them, chosen few. So I'm saying in 2024, let's turn the light all the way on. Okay. Let's expose both sides. And the only reason that my energy is towards the Democratic, because I don't know no Republicans. Okay. I don't, know where they at. I don't see them. All I see is Democrats. All I see is death. All I see is destruction. All I see is a low class. All I see is poverty. And we need to, because there need to be just one race, and that's the human race. And if we could pull this off and get Jesus Christ as a writing candidate to trend, then maybe we could end racism, once and for all, because there's only one race, and that's the human race. And that's, let me see, who gods, the land was created for anyone could worship anybody, right? But Let me see here. I need to wear a different shirt. Okay, let me see here. But let me see here. You got to be all about your God and nobody else's. So, amen. So, and that's from Noah. So, all right, Noah, you're a Christian, right? Okay, hey, Noah, and I'm a Christ as well. So I don't even say a Christian because Christian is Christ-like. I'm Christ because that's what make me supportive of my Father, Abba Father, and make me an ambassador, meaning I got to do his will and I got to basically do the family name. So it all has to be focused on, like I said, your God. There's out there. And in America, it's a Christian nation. One nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So this is why God is basically allowing us in this time to pretty much indifferent and go into the history books, and make a whole nother level, man. Damn, you didn't bring no water to drink. Nah, like I said, I got some coffee. I got some coffee, but yeah, I'm long-winded, man. But listen, I agree. One race. Good luck, brother. Hey, thank you. And help me out with the channel. Go ahead and hit that subscription, hit that notification, because when I do, this is the vertical feed, short feed, but when I do live videos, I'm able to share my screen, and I bring a lot of, receipts, Let me see here. Your conclusions are somewhat off. Well, my conclusions are somewhat off because I'm answering the questions because it's open-ended. The conclusion will be on November 5th, when we turn the TV on and Jesus Christ, he don't win, he don't place, but he show up on our television screen, and we can show the world that we are a nation, a Christian nation who love God, and that we are pretty much doing away with this duopoly, this two-party system that we live in. So like I said, and it's open-ended. So let me see here. I'm going in these questions. Let me see here. They only switch tactics, guns, minimum sentences. Well, let me hear it. That's for Joseph. And Joseph, you're 1,000% right, but they literally didn't switch. Just think about it. Two lefts make a right and two rights make a left. So it's literally a two-headed sword or a two-headed serpent. This is why they say vote for the lesser of the two evils. Okay. And only difference between a Republican and Democrat is morals. It's kind of like the scribes and the Pharisees in the Bible. The liberals, you race, everything, you could do whatever you want to do. But at least the Republicans have God and a moral compass to do what's right, at least when people are watching. We don't know what they're doing behind closed doors, but at least the evangelical Christians have a God that they pray to. Liberals don't have no God. And when I say no God, no God. And that's real. Now, P. Diddy knocking a lot of Jews. I wonder how the next year will look for politics. Well, and that's, let me see here. NWWU, New You, Alonzo. Okay, well, we got an opportunity this election to change the climate of American politics. I think that we as American citizens, like I said, Jesus Christ write-in campaign, the third party option, which I'm trying to help build a party coalition. This is something that can actually go in the history books and break the cycle, and literally break the cycle we've been dealing with. Okay. So we got to be honest with ourselves. This is a historical moment. This is like Rosa Parks. This is like the 94 crime bill. This is the Civil Rights Act. We got to go down in history. And they say in 2024, the Democratic Party was so terrible that a vast majority of the Democrats chose their God over the party, wrote their God in, did not vote for the candidate who was Kamala Harris, and they won. Because win, place, or show, whether she wins or loses, we have a coalition and a group that we can actually win and take that Constitution and supportive of us as we the people, and go in there and basically fight for the rights and the liberties of people. But we got to fix the problem, okay? Because we got to end racism by championing racism. Because just like my man was saying earlier about all the racist stuff that was going on in the South, the Democrats, so we're dealing with a party that somehow just continues like a magic trick to reinvent himself and somehow manipulate the minds of people, that they create an ecosystem to put them in. Now, everybody in their right mind knows that this election is about the economy. And when you ask one person, They talk about tariffs. They talk about, energy. They talks about so many ways that they can do something. And then you ask the other person who we supposed to be voting for because we're black. And she says, I was raised from a middle class family. I know it, like whatever. Okay. You don't have no plan. You're the border czar. She going down to the border today. That would be the second time she's been down to the border since she's been in office. Because if you look at the polls, she's trending in the wrong way. And the scary thing about it is the nonpartisan independents who do not vote in the primaries or take surveys, they're literally trending with the Republican Party, and they will be voting Donald Trump. So I'm saying is to play it safe. Instead of, voting for Kamala Harris or voting for Dr. Cornel West or Jill Stein, I'm basically saying if we were to write in our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ as president, then win as the Christ, okay, with the Constitution on our side, and fight for liberty and justice for all, because our forefathers, they knew, what was happening. The framers were so smart to put in, policies, hundreds, 200, 300 years ago to make sure that there will be a time that we can actually fix this. It's called delayed but not denied. In 1865, the Emancipation Proclamation was signed, but somehow, some way, it didn't happen. In 1964, the Civil Rights Act was signed, but some way, somehow, it didn't happen. And in 2024, 60 years later from the Civil Rights Act, we have an opportunity to protest. And I'm going to say this again, to protest the two-party system. And if you are a Democrat, protest the Democratic Party, and as a protest, vote right in Savior Jesus Christ. And in 2016, in a courtroom, and a judge wants to know, is there another case that can actually associate with what you're trying to do? So I'm going to bring up these nuts. In 2016 in North Carolina, there was a protest vote, and the brothers in North Carolina, there was never Trump, never Hillary, and they wrote in these nuts. And these nuts got 9% as an independent write-in candidate. That right there. So if these nuts could get 9%, so we as individuals, we can actually do better than that and get him to trend in the terms of 19 to 20%, then that means we will be strong enough to do what we need to do as a people and rights of the people. And this is what we call the great separation. And this is the mass exodus, because I don't want to be associated with a party, the freak offs, and the industry party is what they call a freak off. Okay. And P. Diddy, he's the fall guy. 5 CEOs and major record labels have stepped down. So they throwing him under the bus, and he's on suicide watch. And he don't even have the evidence to show anymore, because when Department of Homeland Security raided both of his homes in Florida as well as California at the same time, they pretty much took the surveillance tapes, took his evidence, and now he's the fall guy. So I'm saying, listen, Harris has no pathway to victory. It's going to be a bloodbath. So it's wasting your vote on a functioning alcoholic who can't hold a conversation, who can't complete a sentence without a goofy, outrageous laugh, and who can't even do a one-on-one interview with Winfrey. Don't waste your vote on her. Write in Jesus Christ, because Christ is right. So with that being said, man, I appreciate y'all. Hit that subscription. We're going to continue to go up. And like I said, I'll go through the comments. So if you want to talk about content and things like that, go ahead and share, because, we're a community over here. And don't be afraid of Black, because Black is an acronym for Black, Latin, Asian, Caucasian, meaning we're all together. We're all blood related. And there's only one race on this planet. That's the human race. And if we write in Jesus Christ as president, this is what we will be able to do moving forward. But if we continue to support the Democratic Party, to support their democracy, we're going to continue to support the destruction of the world. And you see the genocide that's going on. So all of this stuff that's going on is a grand distraction, because there's a lot of things going on behind the scenes that they don't want you thinking about, and they don't want you talking about. She don't have no victory. This is our moment in history. And like I said, write in Jesus Christ, because only thing, like I said, he didn't come to change the scribe or the Pharisee. He came to fulfill. So it would be a special thing for us to fill his name in on November 5th, 2024 as president. So with that being said, you guys have a beautiful and amazing day. And I appreciate all y'all happy in with me. I'll see y'all next time on the Better Black America TV. I'm Bouchon Glover. Peace out.